Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with the Symposium on Neglected Groups in Wildlife Trade some of the experiences of COLTO. Although the species are recognizably different, there are hopefully some lessons that we can usefully share. Toothfish, also known as Chilean sea bass, are one of the more interesting fish in the ocean and are found in the southern hemisphere at depths down to 2,500 meters, mainly around undersea pinnacles and more distributed areas, some close to the ice shelves. Toothfish are unusual in having no swim bladders, and they control their buoyancy and their position in the water column by adjusting the fat content of their tissues. Their blood has a chemical composition that allows them to exist at temperatures below the freezing point of water. Unlike many fish whose journey from the depths cause their swim bladders to expand and kill them, toothfish arrive on board in good health and can be tagged and returned to their habitats. This characteristic materially assists resource assessment and allows scientific research into migration and their life cycle. They become sexually active at about 10 years and live for many decades. Although the majority of fish caught would be under 30 kilograms, a monster of nearly 150 kilograms has been recorded. But it is not the biological characteristics of this fine fish that attract the attention of most humans. It is their exquisite taste. The meat is pure white, it's firm, yet cuts like butter, and it can be eaten from the raw state with sashimi to being completely and aggressively cooked. The result is a rich meal which requires only a smallish portion to captivate the taste of the most discerning gourmand. Thus, despite the toothfish being largely caught in areas that are isolated and in seas that are threatening, strong market demand dictates the use of large, sophisticated vessels, requiring long trips to bring the toothfish to table. Intensive commercial fishing peaked in the 1990s, and it was clear that this slow-growing resource required urgent protection. Additionally, fishing methods and some of the uncontrolled operational procedures were decimating threatened bird species like the albatrosses, who produce one chick on average every 3 years. It was also clear that the nature of the fishery would allow sustainable commercial activities if correctly managed and controlled. Toothfish stocks lay both within national EEZs, exclusive economic zones, and also in international waters on the high seas. Additionally, and importantly, largely within the CCAMLR area. For those unfamiliar with CCAMLR, the Convention for the Conservation of Marine Living Resources, a brief explanation may be useful. The International Geophysical Year in 1958 brought together a stellar group of scientists drawn from many countries in order to coordinate a year of intensive scientific study of the Antarctic. Countries which were unable to reconcile differences in other fields were able to contribute towards a common scientific endeavor, and their cooperation made it clear that there was global support for protection of the lost pristine continent. This Damascene moment resulted in the creation of the Antarctic Treaty System. The founder signatories of the ATS agreed that Antarctica would be used for peaceful purposes only, and countries would suspend their territorial claims. Antarctica would be managed by the signatories, and decisions would require consensus. And Antarctica would be used for freely communicated scientific research, and commercial exploitation would be banned. So Antarctica, which is one of the great continents, is run by a committee consisting of many people with a huge scientific input. In 1988, CCAMLR was established under the ATS to apply the same objectives and principles to managing a defined area around Antarctica. And this represents 10% of the world's oceans. The early history of the fishery follows a depressing and alarming pattern. Together with legal, responsible operators, a substantial number of illegal vessels descended on the fishery, much of which fell within the marine areas managed by CCAMLR. And it was clear by the mid-90s that determined action was needed to eliminate the illegal, unregulated and unreported IUU fishing, and to institute conservation measures that would answer the concerns of many consumers and environmental organizations. Legal operators strongly supported these objectives, and in 2004, legal licensed toothfish operators formed COLTO, the Coalition of Legal Toothfish Operators, in order to put IUU operators out of business, and together with CCAMLR, to develop a range of management and operational approaches that protected the ecology while promoting responsible, sustainable fishing. There are powerful reasons why legal operators are committed to the elimination of IUU operations. Legal operators pay taxes, they provide employment, they build the market, and they're alert to IUU operations and the marketing of IUU product. Their vessels provide platforms for observers who harvest critical scientific input, and each vessel carries 2 international observers. The distribution of their activities allows them to police the fishing grounds. If you take the commercial boats away, the seas will be open for IUU fishing. They develop and refine responsible fishing techniques, and they keep the species sustainable and economically relevant. With the protection of the Antarctic ecology as a prime goal, CCAMLR, supported by responsible fishing operators and signatories, developed a set of strategies to improve and collate scientific knowledge on the size and state of toothfish resources in the CCAMLR area, to require operational procedures that minimize ecological impact and especially bird mortality through fisheries management. The Cacciatera system developed in Chile minimizes whale interaction. The wish was to reduce and control fishing effort through fleet size management, through season definitions, through standards for vessels and data collection. An efficient scientific observer program was established to monitor compliance with various conservation measures adopted by CCAMLR. And additionally, a product certification and traceability protocol was established, ensuring that legally caught toothfish could be tracked from catch to consumer. The results have been dramatic, but they've been the result of 30 years of intensive effort, collaboration and cooperation, and the messianic involvement of committed supporters, CCAMLR, COLTO, and many NGOs. A brief historical overview of some of the initiatives may be useful. In 1996, CCAMLR estimated IUU catches at over 30,000 tons, around the same volume as the legal catch. By 2008, IUU boats had been largely excluded from Patagonian toothfish regions, and by 2016 had been limited to very low catches. The close cooperation of CCAMLR members, supportive countries, COLTO and NGOs, as well as the assistance of various state compliance orgs, had succeeded. Certain countries were aggressive in their prosecutions and sank vessels. Other countries literally chased poachers halfway around the world, and legal distributors were effective in detecting illegal product when it came to market. And legal operators were both vigilant and committed to a variety of methods, including allowing rewards leading to convictions. In addition, there was support and help to build capacity in port states and CCAMLR member states. Distribution was limited to certain channels which were reliable and responsible marketers. They kept watch on suspicious vessels and operations, and they maintained an IUU vessel list of people who clearly had engaged in IUU operations in toothfish and in other areas. There was a support for international law enforcement and compliance. And there was support for satellite tracking of vessels and new technologies in traceability. The results can be seen on the following graph. And you can see COLTO was formed in 2004, but in fact, there was very close cooperation within the industry and with CCAMLR before the formation. And the results you can see were immediate and dramatic. The elimination of illegal operators and the adoption of operational procedures to mitigate bird mortality resulted in a massive decline in birds killed. In fact, one has the situation now where the total number of birds lost in the CCAMLR area amounts to a few dozen every year, where it used to amount to many, many thousands. These improvements led to a majority of COLTO fisheries achieving Marine Stewardship Council registration, and the disappearance of a major campaign in the United States to take a pass on sea bass. This in turn led to market support, investment in assets and training, and a success narrative in the use of natural resources. The success of the anti-IUU campaign can perhaps be ascribed to the following factors: the geographic isolation of Antarctica and most CCAMLR fisheries, the commitment of a wide range of interested parties to a common goal, and to adequate funding. As we've heard from the other inputs, one needs money to do many of these things. Concerns do remain, and the Antarctic Treaty needs to deal with a new world, one that is in flux at many levels. But provided the values of the original treaty and CCAMLR founders can be preserved, the southernmost continent can continue to provide useful lessons. Thank you for this opportunity of speaking to you, and I would suggest that you may want to have a look at the website www.colto.org. There are many interesting graphs, information, and also videos. Thank you for the opportunity of speaking to you today.